Hi, my name is Lena and welcome yet to another edition of the Erongo Talk. Today we join you from AfriGold Jewelry here in Walvis Bay, and in our interview section we'll be talking to the owner, Ms. Sharleen, who will be telling us more about her beautiful pieces that are actually handmade, and she'll be telling us more about how her pieces are made. So stay tuned for some exciting news headlines, but first up is our calendar day, so sit back and don't go anywhere. And it's now time for a news update. In our first story, the National Economic Minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Jean-Marie Kalumba, concluded a deal to purchase a governmental objective quota of horse mackerel from the Namibian government today. A well-placed source in the office of the minister said that it appears as if certain players in the industry are simply angry as the deal would result in a new way of doing business. According to this source, the DRC government prefers Namibian landed horse mackerel. The source also said that DRC government would need a company to catch the quota if purchased by means of the auction. How will they do it? According to an industry insider, the Angolan bilateral deal linked to fish rod was fashioned on similar principles. He said the question that remains is who will be able to land the 27,300 metric tons of fish before the end of December, and if it's not landed, what will happen? In our second story, MTC this week kicked off its listing process, selling shares to members of the public for $8.50 for a minimum of 200 shares. Shares will be on an offer to the public until the 1st of November. The company also boasts a 90% mobile share in the telecommunication market, extensive transmission and distribution network, as well as a 97% population coverage. On the shareholder front, it is said it intends to pay out significantly to shareholders. The company recently recruited 100 people who will assist with its initial public offering. MTC intends to raise between 3 billion and 3.5 billion, with 49% shareholding to be sold off. The company will do this by recruiting, as I said, 100 people who will assist with its initial public offering. In our third and final story, for the month of July 2021, the Namibian economy lost about 4.6 billion in potential export earnings. In July 2020, the value of exports stood at 6.6 billion, declining by 27.7%. The Namibian Statistics Agency (NCA) indicated that the value of exports stood at 4.8 billion in July 2021 compared to 9.4 billion recorded in June 2021, dropping by nearly 50%. According to the economist Storm Theoclean, the shortage of cargo ships and containers negatively impacted Namibian export, mostly noticeably on copper exports. Imports stood at 7.9 billion, dropping by 23.1% on a monthly basis, while on annual basis, a decline of 20.9% was observed from its July 2020 level of 10 billion, NCA said. Klein notes the commodities from local mines constitute about 60% of total exports and would be recommendable for Namibia to focus on its comparative advantage and the resources which are in abundant supply. The NPC has indicated certain industries such as mining, which has run its course and aims to purchase opportunities in alternative industries to create jobs. With that said, for more news headlines, visit our website on www.erongo.com.na. Joining us today on the Erongo Talk is the owner of AfriGold Jewelry, Ms. Sharleen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm doing fine. It's a pleasure having you today. So can you tell us a brief history about AfriGold? When was it established?
In 2016. I opened the shop in 2016 after my studies and practical a little bit for a few years.
Can you tell me, did you always want to do jewelry? Did you always want to be a jewelry maker?
This is absolutely my passion. So I decided when I was 8 years old, my mom melted in one of her rings, and I've never been a computer person. I'm, what do you call it, technology retarded or something like that. So we went to this jeweler in Windhoek, and this lady came out with this demokar hare and like a tie-dye shirt, and I was like, if I can look like that when I go to work, I'm going to do that.
Nice.
And she was so nice. She took me through the whole workshop and showed me the process, and I was smitten with it completely.
Wow. Okay. Can you tell us, do you focus on specific type of jewelry, like stones or styles, or what type of jewelry do you make?
Absolutely not. Our main income is engagement rings.
Okay.
But I pride myself on the diversity. So I work with wood, I work with leather, I work with different organic materials, I work with diamonds, stones. I try to keep it as Namibian as possible, where the genuine Namibian stones, we do that from here. And so we focus on everything.
Okay, so is it a see and buy thing, or do people have to strictly put in orders if they want to get those pieces?
Due to the whole COVID thing, for me to be able to manage it safely at the moment is by consultation only. Okay. Before the whole first lockdown, I had the art gallery at the tourism center, but I am also blessed enough to say that orders picked up so much that it was difficult to keep a shop full and reach my deadlines with orders. So what we're planning to do now is to keep it on consultation based only. Also because a lot of it is a private thing. You don't want the whole town to know when you're having an engagement ring made. So that's also a reason why we do it only by booking, to keep the privacy and all of that. I am planning on in the future, as soon as things calm down a little bit, to open a shop separate from the workshop. But until then, we'll probably do exhibitions once every month or once every 2 months, so that we can also exhibit our own things. But at the moment, by order.
Nice. So how long does it take you to make a beautiful piece, or which piece have you made that probably took you the longest or something like that?
Well, a standard ring takes me about a week, but that would be if I focus on only that ring from start to end. I tend to work on 3 or 4 pieces at a time, to also save on melting gas and to make it more time efficient. The longest I've taken on a piece was about 3 weeks. Okay. So it depends on how complicated the ring is, or the pendant, or so on.
Nice. So tell us about AfriGold. Where do you actually see this beautiful place where you make this, in 5 years from now?
I've never been really interested in going too big, because I like the personal touch. I know each and every client's name. I know their families. I know whether they're happy with their pieces. I know most of their ring sizes by heart. So I want to keep that personal touch. If you go too big, it becomes your clients are numbers. And I like having a trademark. So if you go too big, you lose that. And I don't want to start buying in jewelry and stuff like that. So in 5 years, I would like to have a small shop separate. I'm going more in art as well, jewelry the main focus, but having different kinds of art, and giving Namibian artists a chance to exhibit their stuff as well. So that's the plan, the long-term plan. But yeah, I'm quite content with my little workshop. This is a work in progress. I've been in here for a week, so next time you come, it's going to be lots more paintings and colors and stuff.
Wow, it's actually a beautiful place that you have here. So is there any last advice or final words that you want to give to the youth that are also passionate about this type of pieces?
If you are interested in goldsmithing specific, if you're still in school, remember maths and physics is very important. That is your main two subjects that you need. Never stop looking around to be inspired. That is a problem that a lot of artists have, is they get stuck in one mindset. You know, you can be inspired with so many different things, especially with COVID now. I've seen the art went down immensely because people are depressed and stressed out. You can take that and make it into something positive. Also for students to know that this is not just a practical part, there is a theory to it as well. I've had quite a few students that misunderstand the amount of theory that goes in it. It is about 5 years of studying with your practical. A lot of the girls think, again, it's more designing and theory, and when their hands and their faces get black, it puts them off a little bit. So that's something to keep in mind. But for male or female, I think this is one of the most, perfect jobs you can have. You can do it from home. If you have kids, you can do it. You can do it anywhere in the world. It's always, even if it's your second, like a hobby thing that you're doing extra, it's always good to have a plan B.
Wow. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, we're living in strange times. As I said, we've been through many crises, and effectively, currently we are experiencing a world crisis with this COVID-19 virus. But any crisis that you go through, no matter what it is, personal, financial, medical, I had a mini crisis of my own in the end of last year, December 2019, on the 16th of December. I joined the statistics and I had a heart attack. And suddenly things are not the same anymore. Things change. They are not normal. The question always is, what is normal? But in this case, I had a structure, I had a process, I had a life that was orderly and was working fine and had a particular procedure. Then suddenly, boof, I have a heart attack and everything changes, because now I've got to change my exercise habits, I've got to change my eating habits, I've got to change my lifestyle, I've got to stress less. Okay, I don't think that'll work. So there's a lot of things that I had to suddenly change. Things weren't normal anymore. And it's exactly the same that we're experiencing at the moment, and it's exactly the same we're experiencing any crisis. The minute you hit the crisis, you suddenly realize that what was working before is no longer working. You know what's the funny thing, and very few people realize this? There's a cliched saying that everybody loves to use that says, what is the last thing that the business said before they went bankrupt? We always used to do it that way. And if you look at business, if you look at my business, you look at any business, you look at life. We are constantly evolving and things are constantly changing. Sometimes we can't do it at our own pace and we get forced to do it like currently. But we need to constantly adapt. And as leaders, you need to be aware of your environment. You need to try and envision what could possibly happen. What could the future possibly hold? If we carry on this course, where could we possibly end up? And you need to communicate that with your team, and you need to develop with your team, and you need to deal with the challenges and the crises that come along. You're the leader. You can't lead if you're not taking them along with you. And the main things in leadership is sincere communication. I need to communicate with them properly, not just sending WhatsApps and that. Really communicate with my people, to get to know my people, to understand them, so that they also can understand me. And in that way, I will develop meaningful and lasting relationships, committed relationships. And that will eventually give me a commodity of trust. That will lead to trust, where the people will trust me as the leader, that I will take them through this danger. Yeah. if you're a pilot on a plane and you suddenly hit turbulence, none of those passengers sitting at the back can take this plane through this turbulence. Only you can. So you experience, and you need to be level-headed. You need not to panic. You can't sit and scream and suddenly go crazy like everybody in the cabin. You have to be calm, and you have to look and realize what's on the other side of the storm and get them through that turbulence. The same as if you were a captain on a ship and you're in a storm. All of these things. In business, currently what we're going through. So you need to focus. Now, you also need to see the brighter side, the advantage. Now, what's happening now is we are suddenly changing the way that we are doing business. The point is that I'm trying to make is we are living in changing times. Whether it's a virus, whether it's a tsunami, whether it's war, whatever it is, we live in changing times. Nothing stays the same. And we have to constantly adapt to this change. What are you as the leader doing to manage this change to the best of your ability and for the better or the best possible outcome for your team? Take your team into the future, into the next or the new or whatever normal. I'm thinking it's not going to be normal, but let's move in that direction.
It's now time for our weather updates from Walvis Bay and all other major towns in the Erongo region. Stay tuned for the tides as well.
In your weather for today, Walvis Bay expects a maximum temperature of 21 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 14 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 22 degrees Celsius expected for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a west-southwesterly direction at about 11 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 8 minutes to 7 and sunset is expected at 2 minutes to 7 tonight. Swakopmund expects a maximum temperature of 19 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 14 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 20 degrees Celsius expected for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a west-southwesterly direction at about 11 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 8 minutes to 7 and sunset is expected at 2 minutes to 7 tonight. Henties Bay expects a maximum temperature of 19 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 13 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 19 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a south-southwesterly direction at about 11 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 7 minutes to 7 and sunset is expected at 1 minute to 7 tonight. Arandis expects a maximum temperature of 31 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 14 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 32 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a west-northwesterly direction at about 11 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 10 minutes to 7 and sunset is expected at 4 minutes to 7 tonight. Suckles expects a maximum temperature of 37 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 15 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 37 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a northwesterly direction at about 11 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 12 minutes to 7 and sunset is expected at 7 minutes to 7 tonight. Karibib expects a maximum temperature of 36 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 13 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius expected for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a northwesterly direction at about 11 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 13 minutes to 7 and sunset is expected at 7 minutes to 7 tonight. Omaruru expects a maximum temperature of 37 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 14 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 38 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a southerly direction at about 9 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 14 minutes to 7 and sunset is expected at 8 minutes to 7 tonight.
And with that said, we've come to the end of our show for today. For more news, headlines, sport and entertainment news, visit our website on www.erongo.com.na. And if you have any video clips or questions that you'd like to ask, you can contact us via our WhatsApp number at 0811700040. So remember, keep on sanitizing those hands, wear your mask and stay safe. From me to everybody else, ciao!